Howdy folks, I'm out here with Gulf Coast Fit and I am warming up for a workout. Chopped off the treadmill for 10 minutes. Now I'm going to do a little stretching routine on the stability ball. This is a routine that you could do for 5, 10, 15 minutes if you really wanted to run through these stretches multiple times or practice them with a little bit longer duration each round. But here's a handful, 5 or 6 exercises. It's really a full body stretching routine. I will be including a couple more stability ball stretching routines in the future. So here's stability ball stretching routine number 1. And this would really make for a fine component of your warm up or your cool down. So here we go. Something that I love about stability balls is that they are very portable. You just have to pump them up. They're very cost effective for your home gym, and they're very multifaceted. You could use them to stretch, do core workouts, do upper body, lower body workouts. It's really a very multifaceted tool. So we're warming up with it today. So we'll start sitting on the ball. Give you a little side angle here. So the first thing I'm going to do is stretch the anterior and focus on spinal extension. So another great thing about stability ball exercises is they're all fairly simple, not too complex. So I'm going to drape myself over the ball. And this is our first position right here. We're just going to take 3 to 5 breaths. Every time you exhale, allow yourself to drape over the ball a little bit more, getting heavier at both ends of your body. Feeling a spinal extension and also a big stretch down the anterior. I like to make sure that my head is relaxed, so I'm getting a big neck stretch as well. Sometimes I'll actually massage my neck because I can feel it loosening up, and I can feel that allowing my head to hang a little lower. Open your arms up, stretch your chest and biceps, anterior delts. Now once you're there for 30 seconds to a minute, we gently start to roll side to side. And the key here, I'm going to put my hands behind my head to support my neck. The key here is if you're rolling the ball one direction, your body rolls the opposite direction of the ball. You're still draping over the ball, but now in addition to spinal extension, you're getting some lateral flexion and a little bit of spinal rotation in. So all of your vertebral discs, they're flexing backwards, plus they're rotating and flexing sideways. It kind of reminds me of one of those extendable straws. It can move in all different ways, and that's what we're doing right now with our spine. So you see, as I roll one direction with the ball, my body rolls the other direction to counterbalance. And I roll just enough to where I can feel the lateral flexion in my spine help facilitate a stretch down the side trunk. And really, I feel it flexing, or stretching a little bit of lats, serratus, my pecs, my obliques, internal and external obliques, even down into my hip flexors, my TFL. And you might spend 1 to 2 minutes here just rolling and rocking side to side, real gentle, kind of articulating every point in the movement from side to side, because there's at no portion are you not stretching a lot of different muscles in your trunk here. So come on back up nice and easy. And now from a seated position, you're going to kind of do the opposite. Open the legs up a little bit. Scooch forward onto the front part of the ball, just not right on top of the ball. And you're going to fall in between your legs. So now, instead of spinal extension, we're flexing forward, rounding over in between our legs, focusing on spinal flexion. This is a great decompression exercise for the lower back, and a really big hamstring and groin stretch. My head's hanging heavy, my arms are hanging heavy, and my torso is just relaxing in between my thighs. Now you can stay still, and then you might add in a little shimmy from side to side, which helps facilitate stretch in your hip adductors and your hips or groin area from one side to the other, from right to left. You see I'm rocking really slowly. I'm not shifting quickly. It's not a ballistic type of movement. It's very gradual. We're moving molasses-like. Just heard that in some Western we were watching. Molasses-like. That applies to this. All right, so I was probably hanging out down there somewhere between 45 seconds to a minute. And so now we're going to roll back onto the ball again, supine position, facing up. And we're going to take that side to side, roll a little bit further. And we're going to roll all the way to one side. And you'll see here, let me scoot back in case you can't see here. I'm going to roll onto my right side. So my left side is up. Bottom leg is in the front, top leg is in the back. That helps keep you balanced so you don't just roll off the ball. So we're going to do a big side stretch here, focusing solely on lateral flexion at first. So you use your bottom hand to kind of pull down on your top hand a little bit, and you get a nice tricep, rear delt, lat stretch. Let your head hang heavy. And I feel this stretching all the way from the triceps down to the hip flexors and quads. A little bit of IT band action there too. Now with every breath, inhale, inflate, stretch, lengthen, and amplify the spots where you feel the most resistance to your body being able to drape over the ball. And for me, that's right here on the side of my lat. So that's where I'm really focusing on sending my breath in addition to this little tug. And then with every exhale, sink into it just a little bit more. And anywhere from 30 seconds to maybe a minute and a half. I'm going to go and just flip her on over all the way to my other side. Now my right side is up. Pulling down on the top arm, my bottom arm. Head's hanging heavy. And see, I'm a little bit different from side to side because in this same position, I actually feel the most resistance to this stretch down here in my right hip. So that's really where I'm focusing on expanding, inflating, and amplifying the air pressure and stretching of that connective tissue and muscles. Again, top leg is in the back, bottom leg is in the front. I'm going to roll back to the center. Come on, back up. Oh, yeah. All right, moving right along. Going to focus on triceps, rear delts, lats, and thoracic extension now. Now you also get a good abdominal stretch on this next exercise. So what we're going to do is come down onto your knees. Stability ball's in front of you. We're going to scoot back a little bit. You're going to roll forward, and my palms are facing down. You can also have palms facing in. I do it both ways. But as I roll forward, I sink my head down in between my arms. Keep my spine extended. My hips are pressing back. And I'm letting my torso hang heavy in between my shoulders and in between my arms. Now this thoracic extension variation does a great job of not only stretching your lats and addressing your shoulder mobility, your overhead mobility, but you also get a great pec minor and serratus anterior stretch right here. and even the abdominals. Now for me personally, I feel the most benefit, meaning the weakness that I'm addressing the most here, my tight serratus, my gills right here. So that's where I'm focusing on inhaling, expanding, inflating, and amplifying the air pressure and thus the stretch. Sink with every breath for a couple more breaths. You see, this is more of a static stretching routine. It's not really dynamic stretching. We're not stretching in motion. There's not much movement to it. That's just fine. You don't want to hold these for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, most likely. 30 seconds to a minute and a half is good. And again, good for a warm-up or cool-down. So what we're going to do here now, to finish up this routine, we're going to sit on top of the ball, stagger your stride or your stance. And what we're going to do here is go ahead and I'm going to shift my hips forward, and I find a big hip flexor stretch in my trail leg, quad stretch. My toes are tucked. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm actually stretching my toes and the bottom of my feet pretty good here too, a little bit of calves as well. I'm going to put my other hand on the ball, my inside hand, and I'm going to reach over my head. And what that does is amplify this stretch going all the way down this outer sheath here. Now when I'm in this position, you can manipulate the position of the ball to stretch your hip flexors a little bit more. You can manipulate your torso, bend downward or open up. Stretch the side trunk just a little bit differently, change the angle up a little bit. But you're going to keep supporting yourself with this inside hand on the ball, keeping this top hand up and over your head. So again, depending on who you are and how you manipulate your position on the ball, you can emphasize more on stretching your torso and your trunk, or more, I'm actually going to come down on my elbow, or more on the lower body and the hips, quads, my T-band. A couple more breaths. Oh. And that's not too comfortable. It's kind of like doing yin yoga. Relax into it, find what you need, refine it bit by bit, the most out of it. Be patient. All right, here I am facing the other way. Inside hand on the ball, big hip stretch. I'm going to reach up and over, flexing to the left, so I feel the stretch down the right side. And I don't need to go very far at first. I'd recommend getting to that first spot and just staying put for a handful of breaths before you add any little micro adjustments. Get a little neck stretch here too. I'm going to start to move the ball around. And when you move the ball around, that primarily affects the emphasis on your hips. You might feel it in a different region of your hips, but you can shift forward, back, side to side. Just feel where you need it. And where you do experience some discomfort and some restriction, that's likely where you need it. So you want to find that, stay put. Now I'm going to change the upper body position a little bit, opening up and flexing downward. And it's like my back is one of those extendable straws, and we're kind of bending, flexing, moving it in all different ways. Coming down onto my elbow again. You don't have to do that. It feels good for me right now. All right. There you go. So there's 5 or 6 quick stability ball stretches. It's pretty full body. And you could run through this another round. You could rewind this, run through it again. Or you could pause and do each section, each variation for a little bit longer duration than I just did. So give that a go. Again, be patient with it, and remember that you don't need to move very far into a stretch to get the most out of it. On the contrary, if you can feel like you're getting more by moving less, that's probably a good thing. So have fun. Let's get warmed up together.